Have you ever had to deal with difficult clients? It's one of the most challenging things about running a business, about being a freelancer, being a social media manager. And the truth is, it's something that can honestly drive us crazy and make us not fall in love with our business. I'm talking everything from scope creep to over-the-top revisions, micromanaging, and even clients with different types of red flags, or even maybe lowballing and asking for discounts. Drop a yes below if you've ever had to deal with these things and you are like, oh, I thought I was the only one. This is actually a pretty normal part of freelancing and working as a social media manager. And so today I'm going to share with you a few best practices that really help to nip this in the bud. And more importantly, at the end of this video, I'm going to share with you an invitation that can actually help to break this entire cycle. Okay, so the first thing that I want to share with you, is when clients are scope creeping. Now, this is a challenging one because before we even dive into this, I want to share one thing that's a step before this, and that is the importance of knowing exactly what's in your packages. You cannot work with clients and not have a contract in place. You need a contract in place. You need to be clear what the deliverables are, what's in there, what isn't. And I've even gone back time and time again to my old contracts and actually revised them more and more in case anything wasn't clear. So if it seemed like I was offering more help here than I am, I go back and I actually revise my old contracts moving forward and learn from that lesson, okay? So the thing is, scope creep happens, and who here's experienced it? I love it. Very quickly, people are like, yes, totally, I've experienced this. Scope creep is basically when you send over a proposal and here are all of the deliverables, all the things you're gonna offer in that proposal, and the client basically says, hey, can you do this? And it's something that is completely outside of that contract and it is not paid. If you are being paid hourly, you can evaluate that project and see if it's something that you want to add in hourly. But if you are being paid on retainer or project, you're going to want to take a double look at this, because here's the big thing. A lot of times when clients ask for things, they don't realize it's not included. A great example of this is when we went to a restaurant that I love in Minnesota called Fogo de Chao. I go there when I am not in my plant-based mode. And basically one of the things they do is it's like $50 a person. And one of the things that's surprising is you would think that for $50 a person, everything's included, right? But they walk around with these big, massive jumbo shrimp cocktails, or different drinks or different things. They come over with this enticing cart of different kinds of appetizers. And they'll say, did you want a shrimp cocktail? And if you say yes, then they charge you $25 per shrimp cocktail, which is a lot of money for a shrimp cocktail. And that would freak you out if you didn't realize it. So one of my favorite things to do is to almost play as though my clients have no idea it's outside of the scope. I almost give them the benefit of the doubt. And what helps me with that is it helps me to not get jaded. I just say, you know what? They probably had no idea this was not in the contract. So I'll say, I am so happy to do that for you. Do you want me to send the proposal to you right now, or can I send this to you tomorrow? How soon did you want me to start? And sometimes they'll say, proposal? Yeah, totally. It's a different service. So you can actually use the way that you're charging for services to teach clients about scope creep and how to handle things that are not included in the contract. And if a client ever says, but I pay you this much, shouldn't I get this as well? You wouldn't go to a massage and say, don't I deserve a manicure as well because this massage was expensive? That's not how it operates. And just because we're service providers who work in business doesn't mean that you have to offer things that are not included in your scope of deliverables, okay? So that's why it's so important that you follow the process I have for making sure the right deliverables are there. If you haven't checked out the portal for SMU, make sure that you are in that, because there are so many different assets that can support you there. And for those of you who are watching this and you're like, I'm not in SMU, shoot, go to joinsmu.com. Totally free. There's an optional upsell. You do not have to take it, but you can, and it's pretty juicy and gorgeous. Okay, so scope creep is number one. Drop a yes if you're like, I never thought of this. I didn't realize I can just educate my clients. They may not actually have bad intentions. And you know what happens most of the time, you guys? Most of the time, your client just pays the invoice and moves forward. Okay, number 2, you ready for this? Drop a yes if you've gotten some value so far. Number 2 is revisions and micromanagement. Okay, so there are several different tiers to this, and I'm going to be super honest with you. You'll want to stay until the end because I'm going to share with you a solution for this. It's not always able to be fixed in the moment, okay? So it's not always going to be able to fix in the moment. Oftentimes you're going to have to fix this for the future, for future relationships, okay? So the thing about revisions is once you've gotten into a cycle of revisions, it's very difficult to get out of the cycle of revisions because that client has now been taught or trained that revisions are a normal part of the process. And not just revisions, but also reviewing and approving content. And this cycle is not fun. Drop a yes if you know what I'm talking about. It is not a fun process. So there's 2 different things that you can do up front to really support you with this process. In your proposals, you can make it clear that there's an optional a la carte option. If you want to review all of the content and you want 2 revisions included, here's what that price looks like monthly. You do not need to have a client reviewing every single thing that you do because what you bring is not just the deliverables. What you bring is the end result of what those deliverables bring. So if someone is revising and correcting you at every single step or slowing your ability to get results by not approving or not moving forward or just letting you sit in limbo, it's going to prevent your ability to get results. So add that on as an optional a la carte option. Now, I personally have this bundled in to my biggest packages. So like right now, we just closed a client this month for $247,450, and I'm excited and passionate about this client. Are revisions included? Yes, absolutely. At that price, the revisions will be included. And yes, we will review the content before it goes out. So you can either bundle it into your packages and just raise your rate by $500 or $1,000 per month, or you can add it as an a la carte option. So both of these are options. Let me know which one of those you would be more likely to do, to bundle it or to do a la carte style. Let me know in the comments, okay? So the wild thing about once you're in this cycle with a client is you have to ask yourself, how is this making me feel about my work? If it is making you feel stressed and anxious and not looking forward to work and starting to pull away and not giving your best results, there's a really good chance that you may need to drop this client and work from scratch with a new client moving forward. Once we have allowed clients to be in certain patterns, it's very difficult to break those patterns. But I am going to say this, the tough part about micromanagers is once in a while, you have to actually have that difficult conversation and say, hey, listen, I know that you really care about the work that we put out there, and I really admire that about you. My big question for you is, what's more important, that this gets the result or that it looks a certain way? What's more important to you? And I oftentimes ask this, and believe it or not, even though it sounds really, really intense, this is a really good conversation. Successful business owners have tough conversations. So for example, sometimes some of the people that I work with will say, Rachel, I don't want to have my IG reels interrupting my pretty aesthetic grid on Instagram, but I want big growth. So then I ask, okay, this is pretty simple. What's more important to you, the big growth or the pretty aesthetic feed? Because you can't have 2 priorities that are equal. Fair? And then with that playful, loving, kind, guiding energy, they're going to say which one is more important to them. So you can say, I will do my best to keep this in mind, but since you said that results are your number 1 priority, we're going to need to move forward at some point. So it's a really interesting thing. Now, some clients are going to care more about the copy or the aesthetic or the look and feel of whatever it is that you're creating, and that's fine too. But then they don't get to measure you on the KPI of results the same way, because the truth is what works best isn't always the prettiest. And what's the prettiest doesn't always work best. Cool? The next big thing I want to share with you, let me drink some water as we go. By the way, if this has been helpful so far, drop a yes. If you're like, oh my gosh, I totally see myself in these different situations and I've had these experiences and I wish I had had this skill set before, okay? Red flags. Okay, so red flags oftentimes look like clients breaking boundaries. Now, here's something that's really important. If you have never communicated with rock solid certainty that you have boundaries with your clients, there's no way that they could have known it, and there's no way that they could have honored or broken it. Uncommunicated expectations are the single fastest way to be disappointed, let down, and frustrated by life. So when I share the How We Work document, it is absolutely essential that you use this because this is what communicates boundaries. This communicates when you work, how you work, why you work, where you communicate, what you tolerate, what's an emergency, etc. This prevents your clients from being disrespectful to you because it's not disrespect if you haven't communicated what is and isn't respectful in your book. And you have to keep in mind that a client from New York might have really different ideas of boundaries and healthy communication versus a client from Minnesota. Oh, like they might think that this is totally normal to just talk like this all the time. But someone in New York is going to be a little more assertive. And you may see it as disrespect, but you have to lay these important boundaries through the How We Work documents. So oftentimes red flags can be nipped in the bud simply by implementing, and I take this to a new level inside of the click called the business by design. You have to implement the business by design. You have to have a How We Work. You have to clearly communicate your boundaries, or else your clients don't even stand a chance at not raising red flags. So that brings me to point number 4, and this is lowballing. Now, I could talk about this all day, but when clients lowball, it is one of the most frustrating things in the world, but there's actually something that completely shifts the entire dynamic and changes it from chasing to attracting. It changes from convincing to clients convincing you that you need to take them on. And that is the power of value video. Now, I break this down on a new level in my free 5-day Freelancer Success Accelerator. It is 100% free. There are no upsells, nothing like that. And I want to invite you to RSVP and come join me at the next live one. Totally free, but I share with you the strategies that you need to use in order to literally turn this entire cycle around. So while you may not be able to fix it with your current clients, you've got to plant these seeds and fix it for future clients. You can't usually fix the behaviors and relationships as they are, you fix them in the future. So I am dropping the link to RSVP for the free 5-day Freelancer Success Accelerator in the comments, also in the bio beneath this video, and I will catch you later. Bye for now.